In 2018, Jaguar built more than 180,000 cars. By the end of 2025, it built none. Not one. Not because buyers stopped wanting a Jaguar, because Jaguar itself decided to pull every single model off sale, shut down its factories, delete its own back catalogue, and bet the entire company on a lineup of electric cars that, as of this video, still hasn't reached a single customer's driveway. That's not a metaphor. Right now, in dealerships around the world, there is no new Jaguar you can walk in and buy. The showrooms are empty. The company that built the E-Type, a car Enzo Ferrari once called the most beautiful in the world, currently sells nothing. So here's the question this video is going to answer. When a 100-year-old car company voluntarily kills every product it makes, on the promise that something better is coming, how long can it survive on that promise alone? And what happens when the something better keeps getting delayed? Jaguar's leadership will tell you this was always the plan. A clean break, a total reinvention. Copy nothing, start over, become a different kind of luxury brand entirely. But a plan only works if the timing holds. And for Jaguar, the timing hasn't held once. Not with the rebrand, not with the concept car, not with the cyber attack that froze the whole company for 5 weeks, not with the launch date, which has now slipped twice. This is the story of how one of Britain's most storied car brands bet its future on a car it hadn't built yet, and what it's already cost them to keep everyone waiting. To understand how big a gamble this is, you need to understand what Jaguar used to be. Founded in 1922, Jaguar spent decades building some of the most desirable cars on the road. The E-Type, launched in 1961, is still considered one of the most beautiful production cars ever made. Through the 1990s and early 2000s, Jaguar competed directly with Mercedes and BMW, at one point selling more than 130,000 cars a year worldwide. The 2010s brought a genuine renaissance. Design chief Ian Callum reshaped the lineup with cars like the F-Type and the XE. Then, in 2016, came the F-Pace, an SUV that became the best-selling Jaguar of all time, moving more than 300,000 units over its production run. By 2018, annual output had climbed past 180,000 vehicles. Jaguar was not a dying brand. It was a functioning, profitable piece of a much larger business, Jaguar Land Rover, owned by India's Tata Motors. But beneath that success, a different plan was already taking shape. In 2021, under then CEO Thierry Bolloré, JLR launched what it called the Reimagine strategy. Jaguar would go fully electric. Every existing model would eventually be retired. And in April 2023, JLR backed that plan with real money, committing £15 billion over 5 years to build the electric future. Keep that number in mind, £15 billion. Because years later, that investment still hadn't produced a single new car anyone could actually buy. If you're new here, this channel breaks down the decisions behind the biggest corporate collapses and reinventions in the world. Subscribe if you want to understand how a company this large ends up betting everything on a car it hasn't built yet. The Reimagine plan wasn't just about adding electric models. It meant killing the old Jaguar entirely, and the company moved on that faster than most people realised. In March 2024, JLR confirmed that Jaguar's Castle Bromwich plant, the factory that had built the XE, XF and F-Type for over a decade, would stop making cars in June. On May 22, 2024, the last combustion engine Jaguar rolled off that line, a dark blue XE sedan, alongside the final F-Type and the final XF Sport Brake. The plant would keep stamping body panels. It would never build a finished Jaguar again. By December that year, Jaguar's electric I-Pace and the smaller E-Pace, both built in Austria, ended production too. That left exactly one Jaguar model in production anywhere on Earth. The F-Pace, SUV, built at Solihull, running out the clock on borrowed time. Jaguar's full-year production for 2024 fell to just under 59,300 vehicles, its worst showing since 2012, down 2/3 from 6 years earlier. JLR framed all of it as intentional. This was the brand clearing the runway for something new. Here's what matters. The factory closures, the model cancellations, the entire dismantling of Jaguar's combustion lineup had already happened before the public saw a single frame of the new brand campaign. By the time the rest of the world found out what Jaguar's reinvention actually looked like, in November 2024, the decision to burn the old business down had already been made and carried out 6 months earlier. There was no version of this where Jaguar could quietly change its mind. On November 18th, 2024, Jaguar revealed its new brand identity to the world. Exuberant modernism, the company called it. A new logo, a new wordmark, and a 30-second video featuring androgynous models in bright techno-coloured outfits, walking through a surreal, oversaturated landscape. There were no cars in it, not one. The internet noticed immediately. Tesla CEO Elon Musk posted a 2-word reaction that would be viewed nearly 7 million times. Do you sell cars? The post was liked more than 357,000 times. Jaguar's own ad drew over 62,000 replies, the overwhelming majority of them critical. This is where the exposure started to show. Jaguar's global sales, already thinning out for years, had nowhere to hide behind. There was no new product to point people toward. There was just a marketing campaign, arriving at the exact moment the brand had 0 combustion cars left to sell and nothing electric yet to show for it. Jaguar's official response was that the campaign wasn't about selling today's cars, it was about announcing tomorrow's. A company statement described it as a bold and imaginative reinvention that preserved the brand's icons while embracing modern values. But that's where things get interesting. A rebrand campaign is supposed to build anticipation for a product. Instead, this one built confusion, and confusion has a cost. Every week that passed without Jaguar actually revealing what any of this looked like on a real, drivable car was a week the backlash compounded, unanswered. 2 weeks later, at Miami Art Week, Jaguar tried to answer that confusion. On December 2nd, 2024, it unveiled the Type O, a concept car meant to show what its new all-electric lineup would actually look like. It didn't calm things down. The Type O arrived in 2 colours, Miami pink and London blue, with a long hood, a fastback roofline, and no rear window at all. Critics compared it to a Tesla Cybertruck. Others called it a cuboid. One widely shared comment joked that Type O stood for how many units Jaguar would sell. Jaguar's design chief at the time, Jerry McGovern, stood by it. "I don't believe in concepts unless they become a reality," he told the crowd in Miami, framing the car as a genuine preview, not a stunt. The market didn't wait to find out. According to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, Jaguar registered just 49 vehicles across all of Europe in April 2025. In April 2024, that number had been 1,961. That's a decline of 97.5% in a single year. Jaguar's defense was straightforward. These were intentional production numbers, not market rejection. You can't sell cars you've stopped making. That defense was technically true. It was also beside the point. Because underneath a hostile internet and a collapsing sales chart, something else was quietly building inside Jaguar's leadership team, and it was about to cost the company one of the most important people behind the entire rebrand. In August 2025, CEO Adrian Mardell announced he would step down after 3 years running JLR. His replacement was P.B. Balaji, previously Chief Financial Officer at parent company Tata Motors, who took over as CEO on November 17, 2025. Balaji inherited a business bleeding money on a bet that hadn't paid off yet. Less than 3 weeks into the job, reports surfaced that Jaguar's design chief, the man most responsible for the entire rebrand, had been fired. According to multiple outlets, Jerry McGovern, who had spent 21 years shaping JLR's design language, including the Range Rover Evoque, the modern Defender, and now the divisive Type 00, was reportedly escorted from the building. Jaguar's official response was a flat denial. "It is untrue that we have terminated Jerry McGovern's employment," a spokesperson said, while declining to confirm whether he still held his job. For 2 weeks, McGovern remained listed on Jaguar's own executive team webpage, even as the rumours spread. The confusion lasted until March 2026, when JLR confirmed McGovern would step down as Chief Creative Officer to start his own consultancy, ending the ambiguity but not the underlying story. The man who designed the car meant to save Jaguar wouldn't be there to see whether it worked. Leadership had now turned over at the top of Tesla's relationship with JLR and at the top of Jaguar's own design studio, in the middle of the most consequential product launch in the brand's modern history. And leadership wasn't the only thing about to break. On August 31st, 2025, JLR's security team detected abnormal activity on its IT systems at the Halewood plant. Within 2 days, the company shut down its own network entirely, across every facility, trying to contain the breach. It didn't work fast enough. Production halted completely at Solihull, Halewood and Wolverhampton, JLR's 3 major UK plants. A group calling itself Scattered Lapsus Dollar Hunters claimed responsibility. Retail systems, parts logistics and supplier ordering all went dark for weeks. According to the UK's Cyber Monitoring Centre, the shutdown ran roughly 5 weeks and became the most financially damaging cyber event in British history, with an estimated £1.9 billion in losses across more than 5,000 affected businesses. Kieran Martin, the Centre's chair, called it the single most financially damaging cyber event ever to hit the UK. JLR itself reported a quarterly loss of nearly £485 million, compared with a profit of almost £400 million in the same quarter a year earlier. The UK government stepped in with roughly £1.5 billion in loans to keep suppliers afloat. The attack didn't just cost money, it cost time Jaguar didn't have. The already delayed reveal of its first new electric model, originally promised by the end of 2025, slipped again, with no firm date attached. No version of this ended well anymore. Jaguar now had no product on sale, no firm timeline, and a parent company absorbing the most expensive cyber attack in the country's history. By early 2026, Jaguar had gone the better part of a year without a single new car for sale anywhere on Earth. The last F-Pacer, a black SVR, rolled off the Solihull line in December 2025, headed straight for the company's heritage collection instead of a customer's driveway. Jaguar's first next-generation model finally got a name in May 2026, the Type 01, a 4-door electric Grand Tourer built on Jaguar's own JEA platform, targeting more than 700 kilometres of range and upward of 1,000 horsepower, priced from around £120,000. Even the name arrived wrapped in camouflage. Prototypes lapped Monaco that same month, still covered, still unrevealed. Jaguar managing director Rawdon Glover kept the promise alive. "We'll unveil it next year and start taking orders," he'd said, before that promise slipped again, from a 2025 target to September 2026, and then, at JLR's Investor Day in June 2026, to October 2026 in New York. Customer deliveries aren't expected until the first half of 2027. Do the math: 0 new Jaguars sold since late 2025, none expected until 2027. That's not a product gap. That's a company asking dealers, investors, and Tata Motors itself to keep funding a brand with no revenue-generating car in the building for the better part of 2 years against rivals like Porsche and Mercedes who already have EVs on the road today. Every delay, every leadership exit, every £1 billion in cyber attack losses landed on top of a brand that had already burned its old business down to build this new one. There was no fallback lineup left to lean on, no combustion cars waiting in reserve, just an empty product line and a promise still waiting to be kept. So what actually went wrong? It came down to 3 decisions. First, Jaguar killed its old business before its new one was ready, ending combustion production more than a year before it had anything electric to put in a showroom. Second, it let the brand story get ahead of the product, launching a rebrand campaign with no car in it, months before customers could see, touch or drive anything the new Jaguar was supposed to be. Third, it treated a once-in-a-century reinvention like a fixed plan instead of a bet still being played. One a single cyber attack, a leadership shake-up, and a design chief's exit could each knock off schedule. None of that means Jaguar is finished. £15 billion, a determined parent company in Tata Motors, and a genuinely radical-looking car in the Type 01 could still turn this around, the way JLR's own Range Rover and Defender lines have turned around before. But right now, in the middle of 2026, Jaguar remains a 100-year-old brand with nothing on sale, betting everything on a car nobody outside the company has driven yet. Whether that bet pays off depends on a launch date that has already moved twice. If you want to see another legacy brand running an almost identical gamble on an unproven product, the next video on this channel breaks down exactly that story. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if this kind of deep dive into corporate decision making is your thing, there's a lot more of it waiting on this channel.